Thanks very much, Maddie. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. I think you're going to hear a very exciting and nice story from Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation. I want to thank Darren Coffin for taking the time today to go through the journey that they went on with Oracle EPM. We're going to do introductions here in a second as part of our agenda. So a couple things we wanted to do is we'll give a little background on each other. Then we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the key challenges and how we resolve some of those challenges that they went through their Oracle EPM implementation. Also want to spend a little time talking about some of the futures that the organization is looking at, the tribe is looking at, and the roadmap, where they hope to take the solution. We want to provide you all, though, with some lessons learned and some takeaways. So if you're starting the journey, or if you're considering this, or if you're using the solution today, hopefully there'll be a little bit of everything for everyone. So again, I'm Scott Costello. I'm a partner here at Elire, focused in the EPM practice. A CPA, I've actually been doing this for a little over 25 years. I started with Hyperion in the late 1990s as a consultant, and have been helping organizations with their budgeting, reporting, closing, consolidation need ever since. So again, I wanted to introduce Darren Coffin, who's Executive Director of FP&A for Mashantucket Pequot, and give him a chance to kind of talk a little bit about himself and about the nation itself. Darren?
Sure. Thank you, Scott. So as Scott said, my name is Darren Coffin. I'm the Executive Director of Financial Planning and Analysis for Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation, the owners of Foxwoods Resorts here in Connecticut, Mashantucket, Connecticut. Prior to starting my role at Mashantucket, I served as Chief Financial Officer and Operations Executive for my tribe in Maine, the Passamaquoddy tribe, for about 8 years, and have been with Mashantucket for the past 3. For those of you that don't know, Mashantucket is located in southeast Connecticut, right outside of New London, Groton area. It operates gaming facilities, hospitality industries, and just recently got into 8A federal contracting. So our accounting needs are unique, they're vast, and they cross government and for-profit business accounting needs. Yeah, and this here slide just kind of talks about a few of the tribes, businesses and operations that we have. Mashantucket Pequot is the oldest reservation in the United States. It was first established in 1666 when there was a conflict between English settlers and the area tribes in the area Mohegan and Narragansett. There was called the Pequot Wars that settled that war there, but kind of displaced the Mashantuckets throughout the country, sold them off to other tribes, moved them to the Caribbean. Through a long, hard-fought battle in 1983, they received their recognition, and from there, just on the upward trajectory for the tribe.
Thank you, Darren, for a little bit of background on the organization. It's like you said, it is really amazing to work with a group that has so many different industries almost in one, right? With the government side and the casino side, you have hospitality. Like everyone else, you have revenue you have to worry about, costs you have to worry about, expenses, right? And to do analytics on all that. So I did just want to plug too, if anyone is in the Connecticut or Rhode Island area or even New York area, definitely go check out Foxwoods Casino. It's beautiful. I had an opportunity to stay there. And the museum is amazing that they have on site. Even got to eat at Hell's Kitchen there at the casino, and it was outstanding. So highly encourage everyone, if you're in the Northeast even, just check it out.
Thank you.
I did want to spend a minute just talking a little bit about Elire as an organization. So we literally just celebrated our 20 years of business back in April here. Very excited that we've been around that long, helping organizations, partnering with organizations like Mashantucket Pequot. On the left-hand side there, you see, we have just about 500 clients at this point, a lot of Fortune 500s. and a lot of non-Fortune 500s as well. When it comes to cloud implementations and EPM space, our team was some of the first to do it in 2014 when it first came out. Again, we have a long history with the on-premise solutions of Hyperion, but really getting organizations, to see the advantages of moving to the cloud has kind of been where our focus has been for the last 10 years. We do consider ourselves, a trusted advisor, a thought leader, and when we go into organizations and begin that partnership with them, it's really important that we bring that experience, that thought leadership to the table. We work together, collaborates to give the organizations, what they need from a final solution. So it's critical in all of our projects. Give you just a little more background on what we do. Obviously, on the far left-hand side, everything Oracle Cloud when it comes to things like HCM, ERP, helping organizations from a technical perspective when it comes to the cloud. PeopleSoft is a lot of the background from the organization's founders going back to 2005. That's where a lot of the team came from. So a lot of history still with PeopleSoft. The EPM side I'll talk a little bit about, but when we talk about PeopleSoft, the PeopleSoft Treasury is kind of how things started for us. So we have a lot of attention on the Treasury area of the business, including using tools like Kyriba to help organizations, as well as Oracle Cloud, cash management, to help them manage their cash in the future. For advisory services, if you're looking to kind of lay out, hey, what does our roadmap need to look like going forward? How can we take advantage of different solutions? Managed services, and those managed services include everything in the cloud, ERP, HCM, EPM, as well as on-prem, PeopleSoft, Hyperion too. So if you ever need support or some administration help, even just training, we can offer help there. And then that path. So if you are a PeopleSoft shop and you're looking to move to the cloud, we offer a whole program of how you can take your PeopleSoft instance to the cloud. When it comes to EPM, though, we really focus on the entire suite. And it's important that we do so that we can give that kind of big picture for organizations of trying to understand how is the business performing now and how will it perform in the future. So the tools that, that help with that guidance and acceptance is closing consolidation tools, budgeting, forecasting. Obviously, there's an account reconciliation tool. It's part of the suite. There's a slew of different data analytics and reports that you can play with. We'll talk a little bit about that today and how Mashantucket Pequot is taking advantage of those. There is an EDM tool, or enterprise data management, that can help organize the structures of EPM as well as the structures of ERP, so the general ledger, chart of accounts, as well as all the EPM structures. Profitability and cost, for helping with allocations and driving where the profitability is. Narrative reporting for doing big budget books and annual reports, 10Ks, 10Qs, all that good stuff. Or even just producing and distributing reports to the team. This is an area that Darren and his team are starting to look into. Because of our legacy, we'll always support the on-premises Hyperion suite. And as mentioned, we'll continue to support our organizations that we work with from a managed services perspective. So that's a little bit of background of Elire, but before we get too far into the weeds on the story, we just wanted to start with a poll and get to know the audience a little bit better.
Yeah, you should see on your screen our first question. Where are you in your utilization of Oracle EPM? Not currently using Oracle EPM, already live on EPM, considering an implementation of EPM, or currently undergoing an implementation of Oracle EPM. So we'll give folks just a minute or two to get their answers added into the poll question. Looks like we've got about half of folks have responded so far. some of the most popular responses. It looks like most 47% are live on Oracle EPM currently, and then second 29% not currently using Oracle EPM. So kind of the full range of responses there.
Awesome. All right, so we got a good mix of folks. I think this will be, valuable for those who are currently using it, as Darren is a current user, but those that are considering it, obviously, Darren was a part of that, journey. Eventually, right? Kind of came in the EPM implementation process. So, thank you, Maddie. Appreciate that background. Thank you all for participating in that poll. All right. So moving on, we did want to just give a little bit of background on Mashantucket Pequot, because that is a mouthful sometimes. We do abbreviate it, say MPTN, to stand for Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation. And we wanted to start of, how did things start for all of them? Again, I know, Darren, you kind of came in 2022, right, as a part of this process to help. I know you weren't involved at the very onset of it, but this roadmap of starting in 2022 and getting EPM and ERP implemented is when you kind of joined the organization, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and what Elire's role was after that original implementation. We came in just to check in with the team post the implementation and just see how things were going. I think I was a referral of Oracle that suggested using us to help with things. And, we saw some things that we thought the team could take advantage of. A lot of the focus early on was around report building, helping with education, making sure that the integrations were there. So our focus early on was around kind of training and helping the team understand the solution, rather than just kind of give a turnkey approach. So do that for a good year. And then in November of last year, we started working on a workforce implementation where we were doing employee level planning for the government group, which is where Darren's focus is. But at the same time, there was an ask for the Foxwood group, hey, could we help with optimizing some different calculations of their current process as they were going live on their budget? We went live with the workforce piece back in March 2025. Then, as always, just trying to be a good advisor, a good partner. We spent some time just making sure the team understood the suite, as well as the new pieces that are built into the solution. It's easy as you have the solution to sometimes ignore some of those updates that come out from Oracle. But we're always reading those. We're always up to par on all of those. So we implemented a couple things, including pipeline and a little bit of AI that I'll talk about here shortly. Darren, any other comments you wanted to make on the timeline?
Yeah, no, I think you guys came in right at the correct time. When we had our implementation, the folks that helped us implement it kind of just gave us out of the box stuff, gave us a quick overview of EPM report building, and kind of let us cut us loose. And so it was difficult at that time because in finance we need reports, we need to report out, and with the reports that we were giving, it was a challenge. And Scott and his team came in and helped us get a good reporting suite set up, and now we're just continuously refining that. So it's important to get the right folks in with your implementation and to make sure that you're using everything that you can.
Thank you for the kind words, Darren. And yeah, as for those of you who are considering this, I think this will be very valuable as we get into some of the key challenges and resolutions. So for those that are evaluating the solution, not quite there yet, but are considering it, these are great things to kind of keep in mind. And for those of you who are currently using the solution, keep in mind that that's where we came in. Darren's team was already implemented and engaged in using it. And we came in to really help with some of the challenges that they were experiencing with it post go live. So that's what we'll talk about here first. So the first one is really around training. Now, this is something that we can't stress enough. The solution set is great, but without the right training and time spent and letting people get hands-on in the training, the solution can become not nearly as valuable. If you're given a new toy but you're not told how to play with it, it doesn't add a lot of value. So we started with a lot of training, coming in at step-by-step guides, providing different training material that we had already had in our library and shared it with the team. Darren, I don't know if you had any other comments on just that training challenge that you guys faced initially.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, the folks that we had, they kind of cut us loose after that lack of training. We had suites that we were not using. For example, SmartView, there was a very quick and dirty lesson on how to connect to SmartView, but there was no explanation on how to create reports in SmartView, how to use the upload functions, how to reforecast, upload your budgets. So there was a lot of things that were left on the table. They kind of just left for us to kind of figure out in the admin guide. And that kind of transitioned over for us as well into the reporting. They gave us one operating statement, one income statement, and then quickly showed how to add a few lines and then said, you're on your own. We're moving on to the next client. And we were kind of left scratching our heads trying to figure it out. So it's really, when you're looking for someone to help you with your EPM implementation and ERP, it's making sure that the folks are going to take the time to make sure they train you everything that's in the suite that you're getting, and that you know how to use it when they're leaving. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and money.
Good point. Yeah, thank you for that. The other thing I think we recognized as a challenge early on was because the nation operates almost as two different entities in a lot of ways, with the casino and the government, right? There was a recommendation to take advantage of some of the modules of planning, which are great. And one of the modules that was implemented was workforce planning. However, I think you were told at the time that you either have one choice. You can either plan everything by position or everyone by name, but you can't do both, right? I think that was one of the challenges that you guys had.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. Obviously, that is not the case. Unfortunately, that was something that we had to just correct with the team. You can obviously do both of those. So if you do have, parts of your current business that are a little more position focused, that's totally fine. You can take advantage of the module with that, or and you have people that you want to, maybe more the back office, corporate folks, where you need to do things by employee name because you have all those details. You can absolutely do that. So just making sure that the team understood that there is no limit when it comes to that. And then we, over time, actually implemented this for you all.
Yes, Scott, if I could also just say, it's also important that the person that's helping you implement your solution understands your unique needs. We, as Mashantucket Pequot Tribal Nation, have two unique needs. Foxwoods was more concerned about budgeting based on job code because they have thousands of employees, whereas the government is a little more sensitive because we have budgeting dollars and citizenry to report to. We needed more flexibility into budget by employee, not by job code. So it's making sure that the folks that are helping you implement your solution understand your unique challenges and that they're able to help you solve those. Whereas we were just told it's an out-of-a-box solution, you need to get your government to square up with the Foxwood side. So basically telling us, get your square instrument and put it in this round hole. Doesn't work. So with Scott's help and Elire, we're able to carve out a workforce implementation specific to the tribe. Foxwoods was still able to do their thing with budgeting by job code, and we were able to do our thing with employee by budgeting by employee, which gives us more accuracy when forecasting the government's budget.
Yeah. I'm glad we were able to kind of get that up and running for y'all and, get you a solution that I think is going to fit the needs of the team a little bit better going forward. I think our original engagement with you all was around reporting, right? And this expanded beyond just EPM. I know the team was trying to understand how can they report better in ERP, right? And having some of the challenges of kind of bringing that data together, where was the right place to do the reporting? I know we spent a considerable amount of time in that first year really just focused on, some of the reporting needs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like we mentioned, touched on it earlier, but just the lack of reporting, that reports that were given to us from our implementation. We have a lot of KPIs that we like to track for departments. Scott and his team were able to help us incorporate those into the reports that we have, which helps us make better business decisions. And it's say it again, it's making sure that the person that you're helping that's implementing your solution understands what your needs are. Finance, this is probably one of the most important things here, is being able to report out. Doesn't do any good if you can't get your information out of the GL into a reporting function to give to leadership, department directors, people who are making business decisions.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned at the beginning was let's just get you connected to SmartView, right? And I think that was a little bit of a surprise for us coming in that you weren't provided that education on SmartView, because as you know, now that you've played with it for a while, a lot of organizations kind of only use SmartView. Like they love that solution, right? They love having a tool like Excel to be able to kind of get in and get their data because they already know spreadsheets and they know learning SmartView, isn't too difficult. And I know that continues to expand throughout the organization. So that's great. The other thing I just wanted to mention that we'll get to this in the future set is the reporting, that Oracle now offers around narrative reporting, where you can bring in ERP and EPM data into one spot, to kind of solve a lot of your reporting needs. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. One of the last issues we just wanted to bring to the group was the integration. Right? When I think the initial solution was set up, it was a bit one-sided. We're pulling information from ERP into EPM, but then it kind of stayed in EPM. And that was a bit of a challenge, right? When it came to some of your ERP reporting and just having everything in ERP too.
Correct. Yeah, it was the data flow, the timing, how frequently it was happening, but also communicating the budgets back to ERP, because ERP, the GL team who uses ERP, has their own data set with budgets, or reports where they needed budget numbers as well. So it was a really manual process to get the information to flow back to ERP. But when it was flowing into from ERP into EPM, you had to go through and make sure that accounts were being added correctly, the hierarchy is set up. So Scott and his team really helped us figure out how to clean that up a little bit, helped us create a macro to get our data out of EPM and export it into ERP until we're able to develop the pipeline that we'll discuss in a little bit as well.
Yeah, we started with kind of a quick fix solution, right? And then really wanted to take advantage of what's available with the solution, because obviously both being on Oracle ERP, trying to get that GL data into the budget for planning purposes is critical, but then being able to push that back into the general ledger, is also critical too. So both being under the Oracle umbrella, there's some out of the box capabilities to link those two systems pretty easily. We did want to talk just a minute about, where are we going next as a group, as a team. So when it comes to integrations, road mapping, this first thing actually was one of the things we already have in place. So for those of you that are currently using Oracle EPM, you might have heard of a solution called EPM Automate. So when we did our larger evaluation of how the team was using it, we actually spoke to IT and looked at some of the integrations that they were running today through the EPM Automate tool, which is, some scripts can be written in different languages and things like that. In the past couple of years, Oracle's introduced a pipeline tool. So we really wanted to make sure the team understood that you could get rid of some of those scripts, use the pipeline tool, manage all the schedules directly through the user interface, and even let finance kind of run it whenever they need, and schedule it as they need, rather than having that dependency on IT, and the scripts that are built with EPM Automate. So able to eliminate kind of a little bit of a more technical process and put things back into the hands of finance.
Yeah, and I would just say here, the process before we implemented the pipeline, it was a manual process that either myself or the controller would have to do whenever we needed data to flow in from ERP, so actuals. So it was a manual push that had to do throughout the day. It was only set up to automatically push over the overnight period. That just didn't work for us. When we're trying to close the books, we need the data to be reflected relatively quickly. So with Scott's team, we were able to create a pipeline that we are able to set up the frequency for every 15 minutes if we chose. Right now, we're doing it for every hour, but the frequency, if we wanted to, could be every 15 minutes. The data is being pulled from ERP into EPM, which allows our reports to be more accurate because we're getting the data updated every hour at this case.
Yeah, that's great. That's great that, especially as you go through those processes, having that data, as real time as possible is critical, right? So I know this is a new tool for you all. This is something we just recently stood up and just kind of given some, an overview and a demo of the narrative reporting tool. Some of the big advantages and future state, I think, for the nation is really around being able to do some of those variance analysis, being able to put commentary directly in the app, maybe even taking advantage for the council of like the books that you need to present at the end. I don't know if you had any other ideas of how you might take advantage of this solution in the future, Darren.
Yeah, we're going to definitely be implementing this. We're going to be using visuals to help tell the story, adding our commentary right onto the report. So when the goal is that when we produce our quarterly financial reports to Tribal Council, they're going to get a professional looking quarterly report that you would see in a Fortune 500 company, but we're able to do it on a team of 3 people because we're going to be implementing the tools that are already available to us.
Yeah. That's great. And since it comes with a suite, right, you might as well take advantage of it. It does work against the ERP general ledger too. So the the accounting team can take advantage of it. There's distribution capabilities, and it dynamically updates based on the data. So you're getting real results, with the clickable button. I think you'll see a lot of advantages for that. So excited to help you down that path. The last thing we just wanted to bring up is around, you hear a lot about AI, or IPM, and intelligent performance management. That's part of the overall planning solution. It's part of a lot of the suite now consolidations, and Oracle continues to invest in this. They have a lot on the roadmap when it comes to AI and how they're going to use it for account recs, further on the narrative reporting, profitability, and even more with planning and consolidation. So exciting to see. What we've done so far is really just provide the Foxwood team insight, since they have such great data, down to things like how this slot machine has been performing over these months at this location, with some of the hospitality statistics they have. And then for the government side, trying to look at things around the expenses. So we've set up some of the things that come with it, which include tracking anomalies in the data, the variance analysis built in between, and giving you insight of how the system might predict the business and where it's going, using this tool. So this is something we've set up. Darren and team have kind of looked at it a little bit, right? Started to play with it, but I think as this solution continues to evolve, hopefully this will be something that you'll be able to further take advantage of.
Yeah, Scott, I think that we will be implementing this at some point once we're done with the narrative reporting. We're looking to be more efficient with our time, so we're going to look to see how the predictive analysis works with our forecasting, and then compare that to how we forecast currently. And if there is a small variation between the system doing it and how we do it, we'll then implement the AI functions to now do our forecasting, so that way we can spend more time analyzing the data and trying to make sure that our forecast is accurate as possible.
And I've seen some of the roadmap recently of what Oracle is going to be introducing this year when it comes to AI, and it's pretty impressive stuff. So I'm anxious to share that with you as we start to learn more. Okay, we did have another poll question we wanted to get to, so I'll turn it over to Maddie to ask the poll question.
Yeah, you should see our second poll question. Which of the following apply to you and or your organization? And mark all that apply, please. Currently taking advantage of the full suite of EPM tools available, starting to dabble in AI, starting to use new integrations and automation such as the pipeline tool, utilizing the narrative reporting tool, and then looking to expand our EPM use, or maybe these aren't applicable to you right now. We'll give people a minute to get their answers in here. I think we've got about 20 responses so far. Give another few seconds here. So it looks like 32% are looking to expand their EPM use. 4% and 4% are utilizing narrative reporting tools. So it looks like there's room there. And then 4% are currently taking advantage of the full suite of tools. So that's a good position to be in. But it looks like the majority are looking to expand their use of EPM, and maybe most folks aren't taking advantage of everything that they could be right now.
Excellent. Yeah. I think what's important to note as a result of that poll, right, is just that understanding. A lot of times when you start an implementation, it's easy to be very focused on a process in the suite, whether it's a budgeting process, account reconciliation process, profitability or reporting process. So just making sure that you understand that you do have this suite of tools, you're paying for a suite of tools, should at least always try to take advantage or reevaluate, could these tools be a benefit for our organization? How can we take advantage of them? They're pretty easy to kind of stand up and get started. They all have little sample demo applications too, that if you just want to kind of kick the tire, you already have the ability to do that with any of these tools that are part of the suite. So highly recommend taking advantage of them. I do see just a few people taking advantage of the narrative reporting tool. I can't stress, that I really think that's going to be a go forward strategy for a lot of groups. That's kind of having one spot for doing all your reporting, analytics, analysis. So if you haven't had a chance to see that tool, by all means. But it's good to see some folks are dabbling in AI already and starting to play with pipeline. Okay, thank you, Maddie. I think we just wanted to end with some of those lessons learned and key takeaways. So I'll start on this a little bit, and then I'll let Darren, because I'm sure you'd like to hear this from a little bit more. But as I just mentioned, making sure you know the whole suite. There's a lot to take advantage of. You own it, you paid for it. Might as well know what it can do and see if you could take advantage of it for other parts of the organization. I think for all of you, Darren, I know that the kind of rationalizing user licenses from a business functionality standpoint, I know that was a big lesson learned and takeaway for you all too, right?
Yeah, that was one of the challenges that we had. The amount of licenses that we got with our package wasn't fully communicated on how all that works. We are right now capped at 25. On the government side, we were trying to roll it out to all our department directors, and there's about 50 of those. So we are restricted right now. So that's something to really think through. How many users do you anticipate using this? And are you able to flex the amount of licenses that you can get? And can your budget also absorb that additional cost for those additional licenses? So that was one of our biggest challenges that we ran into. Restricted us on using some of the full options in EPM for budgeting. We do some of it still in Excel with our directors, and then we take that and upload it into the system and then fine tune it there. But that was one of our biggest challenges and lessons learned, is having enough licenses for the people in your organization.
Yeah. And then I think you mentioned this a couple of times, right? The implementing from day one, the importance of training, and just evaluating, the out of the box versus custom. And if you wanted to comment on those as well.
Yeah, just the out of the box stuff, it was a little disheartening to hear that everything that we wanted to do was, saying that's not able to be done. You have an out of the box modular, but it doesn't really, out of the box can be modified if the person is willing to take the time to understand what you need and to get it done. So really drilling down on what you really need and making sure that the person that's helping you implement your solution understands your needs, and that you just don't get left with something that doesn't work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I just want to take a moment and, thank you again, Darren, for taking the time. I'll say from Elire's perspective on this journey, it's always great to work with an organization that has a vision, that really wants to collaborate, work together, understand things, and is very open-minded to different approaches and different practices, listening to leading practices. So it's been a great journey for us as well. And I just wanted to thank you for your involvement in all of this. Without your leadership, I don't think you'd be where you're at today. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Thanks to you guys for your assistance in helping us fine tune our solutions to fit our business needs.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we were going to close with a little more Q&A since we have a few more minutes left.